What if the most dangerous liar in your life is the person you raised? I woke up confused, opened my medicine cabinet, and found a note in my own handwriting: "Don't trust Claire." The problem, I don't remember writing it. And if I'm wrong, I destroy my family. But if I'm right, 18 children lose their home. What if I'm wrong? That's the thought that keeps me awake even when I'm already exhausted. What if my broken brain is making me accuse an innocent person? What if I'm seeing danger where there is none? And then the other fear comes. What if I'm right? What if my own daughter has been stealing from the most vulnerable children in the city? Tomorrow I might forget every detail of this. Tomorrow I might wake up smiling and ask where my husband is. But today, I'm clear enough to feel the terror. Today, I need the truth. Even if it destroys what's left of my family. My name is Helen. I'm 73 years old. And this is my story. Friends, before we begin, comment where you're listening from and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Now listen. I woke up and didn't know where I was. At first it was just the ceiling, familiar but not enough. Then the lamp, the curtains, the shape of the dresser. My mind tried to build the room like a puzzle, but my body panicked before the pieces clicked. That panic is hard to explain. It's like falling even though you're lying still. I blinked again and again, until the room finally came into focus. My bedroom, my house, the one George and I bought 30 years ago. George! My chest tightened. George was gone. Even on my best days, that fact hits like I'm hearing it for the first time. I sat up too fast, the room tilted. I grabbed the nightstand and waited for the floor to stop moving. The doctor said it was part of my condition: blood pressure, balance issues, and the disease itself. He called it body dementia. Not Alzheimer's. This one comes with tremors, confusion, and sometimes hallucinations. He said some days I could be sharp as ever, and other days I might not remember my own address. I remember nodding politely in his office, like he was describing a minor inconvenience. But it isn't minor. It feels like your mind is a house, and the lights keep flickering, room by room. That morning, I shuffled to the bathroom. My feet dragged on the carpet. I opened the medicine cabinet to take my pills. And that's when I saw it. A yellow sticky note, pressed inside the cabinet door. My handwriting, I knew it instantly. Big block letters, pressed hard like the message mattered too much to be gentle. It said, "Don't trust Claire." I stared until my eyes burned. Claire, my daughter. My only daughter. Why would I write that? Why would I write that about my own child? The worst part was this: I didn't remember writing it at all. The note felt like a warning from another version of me, a version that was awake when I was. I peeled it off slowly and held it between my fingers like it could bite. Then the doorbell rang. Two sharp chimes that cut through my thoughts. I froze, my heartbeat jumped like I'd been caught doing something wrong. Then I forced myself to walk to the door. When I opened it, Peter stood there. My grandson. The only one who still visits regularly. He held 2 coffees and gave me a soft smile. "Morning, Grandma," he said, "decaf cream." He always remembered. Claire never did. That shouldn't have mattered, but it did. Peter followed me into the kitchen and sat across from me. He watched me carefully, like he was checking my balance, my breathing, my eyes, like he was trying to guess what kind of day I was having. I hated that look. But I also needed him. "Peter," I said quietly, "I found something this morning." He leaned forward. "What is it?" I slid the sticky note across the table. His eyes dropped to the words. And I saw his face change. Not surprise, not confusion. Something heavier. Something like fear. "Where did you find this?" he asked. "In the medicine cabinet," I said. "I don't remember writing it." Peter swallowed hard. That swallow felt like an answer all by itself. I reached into a pile of mail and menus on the counter, moving things around with shaking hands. And there, another sticky note, half hidden under a takeout menu. I brought it back and unfolded it. Check the foundation accounts. Peter stared at it. My throat tightened. The foundation, George's foundation. The Oak Harbor Foundation was George's pride, a place for adopted teens and foster kids who had nowhere else to go. 18 kids lived there now. George had been gone 18 months. They said it was a heart attack. Quick, sudden. I still remember the phone call. Claire's voice sounded controlled, almost rehearsed. Mom, Dad's gone. I tried to breathe through the tightness in my chest. Claire runs the foundation now, I said. Peter nodded, but his eyes looked troubled. That didn't surprise me. Peter and Claire didn't get along. He studied social work. Claire called it impractical. She cut him off financially, like punishment would turn him into someone else. Then my phone rang. I flinched so hard I almost spilled my coffee. I looked at the screen. Claire. I answered, hello. Mom, she said, smooth and calm. I'm coming by this afternoon around 3. We need you to sign some important papers. My stomach dropped. What kind of papers? I asked, trying to sound casual. Just paperwork, she said, for your protection. For your protection. Those words landed like ice. Okay, I whispered. Good, she said, love you. Then she hung up. I set the phone down carefully, like noise could break something in me. She's coming at 3, I told Peter. Documents she wants me to sign. Peter's face went pale. I stood and walked to my small desk in the living room. My hands moved on instinct, like they remembered what to do even if my mind didn't. In the printer tray, there was a sheet of paper. A bank statement. Oak Harbor Foundation at the top. Numbers in columns. Some circled in red ink. Large payments, strange company names, vague descriptions. The kind of paper that tells a story, even when it's trying not to. George had been a forensic auditor. I worked in the district attorney's office for 30 years. I knew what money looked like when it was being moved quietly. I looked at Peter. We have until 3. To do what? He asked. We go to the foundation, I said. We ask for the real financial records. Peter hesitated. Grandma, are you sure? That question stabbed me. Because no, nothing about my life felt sure anymore. So I did the only thing I could. I grabbed a notepad and wrote, slowly and clearly. Found note, don't trust Claire. Found note, check foundation accounts. Found bank statement with weird payments. Going to foundation. Peter is helping. Trust him. Peter nodded like he'd been holding his breath. Then I noticed one more sticky note tucked beneath the pad. I unfolded it. And my blood went cold. She is lying about conservatorship. Legal control. The power to manage my money, my home, my medical decisions, my life. I stared at the word until it blurred. The papers, I whispered, that's what she wants. Peter's voice was tight. Grandma, don't sign anything. I won't, I said. But my hands still shook. Because I realized something awful. If Claire was innocent, then I was about to destroy my relationship with my own daughter. And if she wasn't innocent, then the enemy had been sitting at my table this whole time. We grabbed our coats. Peter guided me to the car. And as we drove toward the foundation, I whispered a single prayer I didn't know I still believed in. Please let me be wrong. Because the truth was coming. And I didn't know if my heart could survive it. The drive to the foundation felt longer than it ever had. Not because of traffic. Because of what was sitting between my ribs. Fear has weight, real weight, It presses down on you until even breathing feels like work. Peter kept both hands tight on the steering wheel. He didn't turn on music. He didn't try to distract me. He just drove like he knew one wrong word could crack something open in me. I stared out the window and watched the city slide past. People walking dogs, someone carrying groceries, a couple laughing on the corner like the world was safe. And I kept thinking the same thing over and over. 18 kids. 18 kids who didn't have a backup plan. George used to say the foundation was a lifeboat, not a luxury, a lifeboat. If someone was drilling holes in it, those kids would sink first. When we pulled into the parking lot, my heart started racing again. My hands felt numb. My mouth was dry like I'd swallowed cotton. Peter parked and looked at me. "Grandma," he said gently, "if you feel dizzy, tell me. We can slow down." I nodded, but I didn't want slow. I wanted answers before my brain decided to steal the day from me. We walked inside. The building smelled like cheap coffee and old pizza. Not in a bad way, more like proof that people lived here. Kids lived here. Real life happened here. In the common room, a teenage girl was curled up on a couch with a blanket pulled to her chin. Her eyes flicked up toward me for half a second, then back down to her phone. A boy in a hoodie leaned against the wall near the stairs, pretending not to watch us, but he was watching. Everything looked normal. And that normality scared me more than chaos would have. Because if something awful was happening, it was happening under the same roof as laughter and homework and late-night snacks. A young staff member at the front desk smiled politely. "Hi there, can I help you?" "My name is Helen," I said. "George's wife. I need to see the foundation's financial records." The staff member's smile froze for a moment. She glanced past me at Peter, then down the hallway like she was searching for permission. One moment," she said quickly. She disappeared into the back. A few seconds later, appeared. Was the director. She used to meet George every Monday morning. I remembered her from fundraisers and holiday dinners for the kids. The moment she saw me, concern washed over her face. "Helen," she said softly, "are you okay? Do you need to sit down?" There it was again. That careful tone. The way people talk to you when they think your mind might shatter. "I'm fine," I said firmly. "I'm here for records." His eyes flicked to Peter, then back to me. "Helen, Claire handles the finances now," she said, hesitant. "It's not really." "I don't need Claire's permission," I cut in. My voice surprised me. It had that old edge, the one I used to have in courtrooms. I stepped closer. "I'm the widow of the founder. I have the right to see what's happening here." Swallowed. For a second, I thought she'd refuse. But then her gaze softened, and I saw something behind her eyes. Worries. Maybe even guilt. "All right," she said quietly. "Come with me." She led us down a hallway and into George's old office. The room hit me like a wave. It still smelled faintly like him. Paper, coffee, that sharp clean scent he used to wear like armor. My chest tightened so hard I had to steady myself against the doorframe. Opened a filing cabinet and pulled out a thick folder. "Vendor services," she said. "This is what Claire been using." My fingers shook as I took it. Peter lifted his phone without a word, ready to photograph whatever we found. I opened the folder. Invoices spilled out like secrets. Thousands of pesos here, tens of thousands there. Company names that sounded too smooth, too generic. Brick Future Consulting. Summit Services. Solutions. Names that could belong to anyone, or no one. The descriptions were worse. Consulting. Operational support. Administrative services. Words that meant nothing. And on every page, a signature line. Approved by Claire. I felt heat rise in my face. Peter's phone clicked quietly as he took picture after picture. My hands moved faster, flipping pages. The amounts were oddly round. The payments came in steady patterns, like a drip system designed to drain slowly enough that people wouldn't notice until it was too late. Then I found something that made my stomach drop. A lease agreement. I didn't even realize the foundation rented the building until that moment. I scanned the pages, reading faster. And then I saw it. A clause buried in legal language. If the rent was late for 60 days, the landlord could issue an eviction notice with 60 days to leave. 4 months total. That was it. 4 months from the first missed payment to children being pushed out the front door. My hands went cold. I pictured the girl on the couch, the boy on the stairs, kids who had already been moved around like luggage. If this place disappeared, they wouldn't just lose a building. They'd lose the one place that didn't give up on them. I looked up at. Are you behind on rent? I asked. His face tightened. We've been struggling, she admitted. Claire said she was handling it. She said she had a plan. A plan. My heart pounded. Plans can save you. Or they can buy time while someone runs. Peter leaned in close to me. Grandma, he whispered, we need to go. He was right. Because Claire was coming at 3. And we had no idea how much she already knew. We left the office and walked back through the common room. As we passed, a young girl stepped into the hallway. Maybe 15, thin, eyes too serious. Quietly introduced her as Destiny. Destiny gave me a shy smile. Hi, she said. Her voice was polite, practiced, like she'd learned not to take up too much space. Something inside me cracked. Because in that moment, this wasn't numbers anymore. This was kids like Destiny. Kids who didn't deserve to pay for adult sins. I got back into the car with my hands shaking. Peter drove us home fast. Neither of us spoke much. We didn't need to. The evidence was heavy between us. When we got inside my house, we moved like we were in a storm. We hid the folder behind my winter coats in the closet. We slid the notes into places I could find later, places my good day self would remember even if my bad day self didn't. Peter wanted to tape everything up on the wall, but I wasn't ready for that yet, not until we knew what Claire would do. At 2:55, I sat on the couch and stared at the clock. Every tick sounded like a footstep. Peter sat across from me, jaw clenched. Whatever happens, he said, don't let her rush you. I nodded. At 2:59. A car door slammed outside. My whole body tensed. Then the front door opened. Claire walked in using her key like she owned the place. Perfect hair, perfect posture, perfect calm. Her eyes landed on Peter and hardened instantly. Peter, she said, cold as glass, of course you're here. Peter didn't answer. Claire set her purse down and pulled out a folder. Then she turned to me with a soft smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mom, she said gently, we need to talk about your living situation. She opened her folder like she was about to save me from something. I found a memory care center. And then her eyes dropped. Because on the coffee table, I saw it at the exact same moment she did. The bank statement. The one I forgot to hide. Claire froze. Her hand tightened around the paper as she picked it up slowly. What is this? She asked, voice dangerously calm. My heart slammed against my ribs. Claire's eyes narrowed as she scanned the numbers. Then she looked up at me. And the softness vanished. Did you go to the foundation? She demanded. Peter shifted forward. Claire's head snapped toward him. You've been filling her head, she hissed. Then she turned back to me and pulled out a stack of crisp documents. She slid them across the table. The word at the top hit me like a punch. CONSERVATORSHIP. Claire leaned in, voice low and sharp. This is exactly why we need the hearing, she said. You can't manage your own decisions anymore. I stared at the papers, my vision blurring. Because suddenly, the real threat wasn't just the foundation. It was my life. My home. My freedom. And the person holding the paperwork was my own daughter. I stared at the papers like they were written in another language. Not because I couldn't read them. Because I couldn't believe them. Claire sat across from me, calm and controlled, like this was a routine appointment, like she was discussing a dentist visit. But my hands were shaking so hard, I had to tuck them under my thighs to hide it. This is for your protection, she said again, slower this time. You're confused, you forget things, you get scared, you accuse people, you could hurt yourself, Mom. Her words were smooth. Too smooth. The kind of smooth that tries to slip past your instincts. Peter leaned forward. She's not signing anything. Claire's eyes snapped toward him. Of course you'd say that, she said bitterly. You always think you know better. Then she looked at me again. She whispered, and now her voice had that soft tone she used when she wanted something. You don't have to fight me, you just have to trust me. Trust? That word hit like a slap. Because that morning, a version of me I couldn't even remember had warned me not to. I didn't know which version was right. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going to be rushed. I'm not signing today, I said. Claire blinked, like she didn't expect resistance. What? She asked. I said no, I repeated louder, not today. Her face tightened, a crack appeared in the mask. Mom, you don't understand what's at stake. I understand perfectly, I cut in, and I understand that you didn't tell me the truth. Her eyes flicked to the bank statement in her hand. She lifted it like evidence. This, she said sharply, this is exactly why we need the hearing. You went digging, you bothered staff, you. I went looking for the truth, I snapped, because money is missing. Claire's expression shifted. Not into fear. Into anger. That foundation is not your business anymore, she said, voice low. It's mine. I'm the one carrying it. I'm the one doing the work while you. While I what? I demanded. While I forget. The room went silent. Even the air felt like it stopped moving. Claire pressed her lips together. Then she stood up so fast, the chair legs scraped the floor. This is pointless, she said tightly. Peter, get out. Peter didn't move. Claire looked at me, her eyes hard. I'm coming back with the attorney, she said. And when the judge sees what's happening here, this will be over. Get out, I whispered. Claire froze. Moms! Get out, I shouted. My voice shocked even me. Claire stared at me like I'd slapped her. Then her face twisted with something, hurt, rage, disbelief. She grabbed her folder, her purse, and stormed toward the door. Before leaving, she turned back. This is why Dad wanted me to handle everything, she said coldly. Because you were always too emotional. And then she was gone. The door slammed. And the silence that followed felt like a bruise spreading through the house. I sat there shaking. Peter stood and walked over to lock the door. Then he turned to me slowly. Grandma, he said gently, are you okay? I didn't answer. Because the truth was, I didn't know. I didn't know if I'd just protected myself. Or if I'd just started a war. I looked down at the table. The papers were still there, like a threat that refused to leave. Peter picked them up and scanned the first page. The hearing date, he murmured, it's scheduled. My stomach dropped. So she already filed, I whispered. He nodded slowly. Grandma, we need proof, he said. Not just notes, not just feelings. If she's doing something wrong, we need something that holds up in court. Court. That word woke up an old part of me. A part that remembered fluorescent lights and hard benches and people lying with clean faces. I swallowed. I have proof, I said quietly. Peter's eyes flicked up. Where? I stood and walked to my bedroom closet. My heart was pounding like I was about to open a coffin. I pushed aside the winter coats and pulled out the folder we hid. Then I reached for the shoebox lid with the sticky notes. Then the bank statement. Peter followed me into the bedroom as I carried everything like it was fragile. We spread it all out on the floor. Invoices. Statements. Notes. The lease clause. Photographs Peter took on his phone. My handwriting screaming warnings at me from the past. But it still didn't feel like enough. Because in the back of my mind, the fear whispered, what if you're wrong? That night, Peter helped me do something drastic. He pulled a roll of tape from his backpack. Let's put it up, he said quietly. I stared at him, on the wall. Yes, he said, where you can't lose it, where you'll see it even on a bad day. My throat tightened. Because he was right. My mind could erase memory. But it couldn't erase paper. We cleared the inside of my closet, an empty wall behind the hanging clothes. And then we taped everything up. The notes in the center. The bank statement beside them. The invoices in rows like a timeline. Peter used actual string, like in those detective movies, connecting company names to payments, payments to dates, dates to the lease clause. At first, it looked ridiculous. A conspiracy wall. A paranoid old woman's panic in paper form. But the more we connected, the clearer it became. The payments weren't random. They were patterned. They were controlled. They were draining the foundation slowly, steadily, like someone trying to empty a bathtub without making a sound. When we stepped back, my closet looked like a courtroom exhibit. Peter took a deep breath. Grandma, this is real. I felt tears in my eyes. 18 children, I whispered, if the money runs out. Peter nodded, jaw tight. They lose everything. That night before I went to bed, I wrote new notes. I didn't trust my memory, so I trusted paper. I wrote exactly where we hid the evidence. I wrote the date of the hearing. I wrote one sentence over and over until my hand cramped. Do not sign, do not trust Claire until you see the truth. I hid the notes in the places I always check. The medicine cabinet. The drawer beside my bed. Inside my wallet. Then I went to sleep with fear sitting on my chest like a stone. And the next morning, I woke up smiling. I sat up in bed and looked around calm, almost cheerful. The sunlight was warm. The room was familiar. And for one beautiful second, I thought it was going to be a good day. Then I walked into the bathroom and saw a yellow sticky note inside the cabinet. My handwriting. Big block letters. Don't trust Claire. I stared at it, confused. My heart started racing. Because I didn't remember writing it. I didn't remember the foundation. I didn't remember the papers. I didn't remember yesterday at all. I walked out into the hallway, trembling, and called out, George. No answer. I called again, George, are you home? And then Peter appeared in the doorway, his face full of pain. Grandma, he said softly, it's not that kind of day. I looked at him like he was a stranger. What are you doing here? I asked. His eyes filled with tears he refused to let fall. I'm here to help you, he whispered. Come with me. He guided me to my closet and pulled the door open. And there it was. The wallet. The string. The bank statements. The invoices. The proof. My own handwriting, warning me. I stared at it like it belonged to another person. Then slowly, the fog shifted. Not fully, but enough. Enough for terror to return. Enough for me to whisper, barely able to breathe. Oh God, what did my daughter do? I stood in front of that wall of papers like it was a mirror. A mirror that showed a life I couldn't fully remember living. Invoices, bank statements, yellow notes in my handwriting, string connecting dates to payments like spiderwebs. And Peter, sweet Peter, stood beside me, watching my face like he was watching a storm. Grandma, he said softly, we did this yesterday, you were clear, you wanted the truth. I pressed my fingers to my temples. My head hurt, not like a normal headache. Like my brain was trying to run, but the floor under it kept shifting. I don't remember, I whispered. I know, Peter replied, but you wrote it down for a reason. I looked at the wall again, forcing myself to focus. There was one line that pulled me in harder than any other. The lease clause. Late rent, 60 days eviction, 60 more days. 4 months. 18 kids. Destiny's shy smile flashed in my mind, and suddenly the numbers weren't numbers. They were faces. If the money runs out, I said slowly, those kids lose their home. Peter nodded, yes. My stomach twisted. We need something official, I murmured. Something real, something no one can argue with. Peter's eyes sharpened. The bank. I stared at him. The bank records, he said. If we can get the full statements, not just what you found, we'll know. It felt like stepping onto thin ice. But we didn't have a choice. So we went. The bank smelled like polished floors and cold air, the kind of place where people think money is safety. Peter guided me to the counter, like he was afraid I'd vanish. A manager came out after a few minutes, a woman with neat hair and careful eyes. Mrs. Helen, she asked gently. I hated the tone, but I understood it. Old woman, confused, possibly manipulated. I held my chin up. I'm the widow of George, I said. I need the full financial records for the Oak Harbor Foundation. I have legal standing. The manager hesitated. Then Peter stepped forward and quietly explained. He showed her my ID. He showed her documents with George's name. And finally, the manager nodded. All right, she said, let's go over them. We sat in a small office. She placed the papers on the table like they were heavy. And when I saw the numbers, something inside me went cold and sharp. A pattern. A trail. Transfers, withdrawals, payments to those same strange company names. The balance 6 months ago, 80,000 pesos. The balance now, 12,000 pesos. I stared at that final number until it blurred. 12,000. That wasn't a foundation, that was a countdown. That's enough for maybe 2 months, Peter said quietly. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. Then the manager slid another page toward me. New business entities. LLCs. Registered after George died. And the name listed on the registration. Claire. My entire body went numb. I knew what it looked like when someone tried to hide money. George and I had seen it 100 times. Shell companies. Fake invoices. Generic names. Money moving in circles until it disappeared. I pushed the papers away like they burned. It's her, I whispered. Peter didn't celebrate. He didn't say, I told you. He just looked heartbroken. Because no matter what Claire had done, she was still his mother. We drove home in silence. My mind kept swinging between two impossible truths. Either my daughter was stealing from vulnerable children, or my mind was making a monster out of her. When we got home, I searched my hiding places again, desperate for something that could anchor me. And in the back of my drawer, I found one more sticky note I hadn't put on the wall. My handwriting. A message meant for a day like this. If you read this on a bad day, trust what you wrote on the good days. Claire is dangerous. I stared at it, shaking. Dangerous. My own daughter. I couldn't breathe. Peter put a hand on my shoulder. Grandma, we have to confront her before the hearing, before she can take control. Confront her. The idea made my stomach flip. But my fear for the kids, for my home, for my life, was bigger than my fear of an argument. The next morning, my mind was unusually clear. It felt like a gift. Or maybe a final chance. Claire arrived without knocking, like she always did. She walked into my kitchen in her polished shoes and set her purse on the counter like she belonged there. Her eyes flicked to Peter and narrowed. Still here, she said coldly. I didn't let her take control of the room this time. I lifted the folder and slammed it down on the table. The sound echoed. Claire flinched. I went to the bank, I said. Her face went still. I pulled out the papers. The balance dropped from 80,000 to 12,000, I said. Payments to fake companies. LLCs registered in your name. Her jaw tightened. Moms! Don't, I snapped, don't lie. Claire's eyes flashed. I'm not lying, she hissed. You have no idea what you're talking about. I leaned forward, voice shaking with rage and pain. You're draining the foundation, I said. 18 kids live there, they will be evicted. Claire's face twitched. And then, something I didn't expect happened. Her eyes filled. Not with guilt. With fury and grief. You think I wanted this, she whispered, voice cracking. You think I'm some villain. I froze. Because villains don't look like that. Claire grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the garage. Come, she said. If you want the truth, you're going to see it. Inside the garage was George's old office. Dusty boxes, old folders, the smell of paper and time. Claire yanked open a drawer and pulled out a thick file. She threw it on the desk in front of me. Look, she said. I opened it. And my stomach dropped. Casino receipts. Dozens. Hundreds. Dates from the last 3 years of George's life. Amounts that made my vision blur. Thousands, tens of thousands. Loss after loss after loss. My hands trembled as I flipped through them. Claire's voice was barely holding together. Dad had a gambling problem, she said. He started when the foundation hit trouble. He thought he could win it back. I felt like the floor moved. No, I whispered, George wouldn't. He did, she snapped, and when he couldn't cover it, he did something worse. She reached into the file and pulled out a folded note. The handwriting was shaky. George's handwriting. Claire handed it to me. My fingers felt numb as I opened it. A short message. An apology. A confession. And a goodbye. Claire's voice shattered. He didn't die of a heart attack, she whispered. He chose to end it. My chest tightened so hard I thought I might collapse. Claire wiped her face angrily. I found him, she said, and I lied about it because I didn't want you to carry that pain. I stared at her. My mind tried to reject it. But the evidence was there. And suddenly, everything shifted. The fake companies. The invoices. The trail. Dad created the shell companies, Claire said, voice raw. He used them to pull money out and cover his losses. He tried to hide it. I couldn't speak. Claire continued, tears falling now. After he died, I created new LLCs, not to steal, but to negotiate the mess he left behind, she said. To consolidate debts, to buy time, to protect you. I shook my head, lost. Claire shoved another page toward me. Debt totals 340,000 pesos. Paid by Claire from her own savings and retirement, 180,000. Remaining, 160,000. I stared at the numbers like they were a foreign language. You paid that, I whispered. Claire's voice broke completely. I had to, she said, because the creditors would come for you, for the house, for everything. My knees weakened. And suddenly the papers made sense. If I have, Claire said, crying openly now, I can protect you. I can put your assets into a trust. I can stop them from taking your home. I felt dizzy. The person I'd been hunting wasn't the villain. She'd been the one holding the roof up while the storm raged. And George, the man I loved for 40 years, had been living a secret life I never saw. I covered my mouth, choking on grief. I'm sorry, I whispered. Claire looked at me, exhausted. I didn't want you to hate him, she said, and I didn't want you to hate me. Tears ran down my face. I reached for my daughter and pulled her into my arms. For a second, she resisted. Then she collapsed against me like she'd been carrying the world alone. We stood there in the garage, holding each other, shaking. And then, through the sobs, I said the only thing that mattered now. We'll fix it, I whispered. We'll fix it together. That afternoon, we made a plan. I would sell the house. Use the equity to cover the remaining debt. Pay the back rent. Stabilize the foundation. Peter would organize a fundraiser through his social work program. Claire would negotiate with creditors honestly, without hiding. And before the fog could return, I wrote new sticky notes. Not warnings. Truths. Trust Claire, she protected you. She is not your enemy. I hid them where I always look. Because I know my mind. I know I will forget again. And one day I will wake up and read a note that says, "Don't trust Claire," and my heart will start racing. But then I'll find the new note. The real note. And maybe, just maybe, I'll remember what matters. My brain may fail. My memories may vanish. But love can leave a trail too. And this time, that trail leads back to my daughter. Back to family. Back to the truth.